Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is YAHMAD. Today we're going to be looking at paper 3, data analysis, from the Information and Communication Technology course code 04117. We're going to be looking at the March 2018 paper. So paper 3 is a 2 hour and 30-minute long paper. We're going to be focusing on data analysis, which is the spreadsheet section. So let's go down to the first part. So task 1 is the evidence document. So we need to open up the evidence document, so M1831 evidence.rtf. So if I go to my folder, yep, this is a file. Let's double click, and what we need to do is to make sure your name, center number and candidate number will appear on every page of your evidence document by placing these details in the header. So when you open up your evidence document, to insert a header, click on insert header and go with the option that gives you the 3 columns. So you want to insert your name first of all on the left hand side. Double check the order, so it says your name, then your center number and then your candidate number. Okay, my center number will be 5678 and my candidate number will be 1234. Click on close. So by placing this information in the header, this will appear at the top of every page you print out for the evidence document. Okay, so save this as a word process document into your work area with the file name M1831 evidence followed by your candidate number. So my candidate number was 1234, so I just need to include 1234 at the end. So let me highlight this. So when we're saving, we need to make sure we save as a Word document. Okay, you can click here to make sure you save it into your source folder, and then I need to include my candidate number at the end. So I've got M1831 evidence and then my candidate number here at the end. Obviously in the exam you will be given details for your center number and details for your candidate number, and you would have to include these when asked. Save. Okay, job done. Right, so you will need to place screenshots and answers to questions in the evidence document as we go along. So this paper in particular will focus on your maths skills, so you will have to apply your maths knowledge at certain points. So let's read instructions. You will prepare a spreadsheet model to calculate the cost of building brick walls for a construction company called Bobby's Bricks. Apply the most efficient formula to this model using the data provided. All currency values are in pounds sterling to 2 decimal places, so I'm just going to highlight this. Okay. All dimensions must be shown in meters and cubic meters. Any part bricks must be rounded up to the nearest whole number. So we have to round up if it's like, for example, 5.3, that will have to be rounded up to 6, to the nearest whole number. The foundations of a building are called footings. 1 meter equal 100 centimeters. So 1 meter is 100 centimeters. So the first question, in the evidence document, we have to type an explanation. So explain in your own words the order in which mathematical operations are performed within a spreadsheet. This is the same as maths. So I've opened up this website to show you as an example. Okay, so just like we were doing maths, we have to follow an order of operations, which is called BODMAS. So basically, if you see a question like this, what we need to do is find out the order in which we would calculate the answer. So the order of operations is, you do the things in brackets first. Okay, so here we will do this part first. Okay, and then the next part would be any exponents or indices, so the power or roots. Okay, so as you can see here, the next step would be to multiply or divide before you can add or subtract. So if I go down, so how do I remember all of this? You need to remember BODMAS. So first of all, you work out what's in the brackets first, and then any orders, okay, so powers or square roots, for example, and then division or multiplication from left to right, and then addition or subtraction from left to right. So the same will apply to spreadsheets. So if you go back to your question, explain in your own words the order in which mathematical operations are performed within a spreadsheet is the same as BODMAS. So you've got 4 marks. You need to identify 4 different points. So brackets, the orders, okay, so and then division and multiplication and addition and subtraction. So I've already copied and pasted in the answer from the mark scheme. So the brackets have the highest priority, so calculated first. That's your first mark. Then the exponents, indices have the second priority, so powers and roots. Then division and multiplication are next, and then addition and subtraction. So each line will be a mark. So let me just press save. Okay. Right, the second question is open the files M18 and 31 calculator.csv. So let me just find that one first. Okay, here we go. And M1831 bricks.csv in a spreadsheet package and examine the contents. Okay, so this is a bricks file. So it looks like this could be a table array, and we could be using it for lookup later on. And then if I go back to the calculator, this looks like it will be the main spreadsheet which we're going to be using for this task. So just open up all of the columns and have a look at the information. Okay, so yeah, we've got all of the information here. Right. So format the file M18 calculator.csv, so the spreadsheet looks like this below. So we need to open up the calculator file first. Okay, and we need to format it so it looks like the picture shown here. So as you can see, some rows have been, the formatting or the background color has been changed to black, and the text color has also been changed to white. So the first and second, 4th, 11th and 18th row, we need to first of all change the color to black. But before I do that, I'm going to merge the cells. So as you can see, the text is across a number of different cells. So let's merge the first row. So it goes from A, B to C. Let me double check. Yep, it goes all the way to C. Let's merge and center. Let's do the same for the second row. Merge and center. The 4th, 11th and 18th rows, let's do the same thing. So the 4th, you can merge and center. The 11th, merge and center. And the 18th row, merge and center. And you will notice the background color has been changed to black. So let's change the color to black, and the text is now white. So if I press Control down on the keyboard, I can select multiple cells at the same time. So let's change the background color to black. Obviously the text has now gone missing. However, if we change the color, the text will become visible again. Okay, so as you can see here, Bobby's bricks needs to be formatted, and the text will appear on the right hand side of the cell, and we've used a particular type of font. So the first thing we'll do is format or right align Bobby's bricks. We can increase the size of Bobby's bricks. That's too big. It starts from, yeah, Bobby's starts from here, so let's just decrease the size. Yep, there we go. And let's find a suitable font style that looks similar to the font style shown here. So let me zoom in a little bit so you can have a look. Let me just go down. So it doesn't have to be exactly the same, but let's try and find something that looks as close as possible. Here we go. So let's use this font here, Script MJ Bold. Okay, I'm happy with that. It looks close enough. Okay, these titles also, you can see they've been center aligned and they've been formatted to be a little bit more bolder. Okay, so what we can do, we can increase the size slightly and then change the formatting. So it looks like a sans serif font, so I'm just going to apply Arial for these fonts here. Okay, so if we go to Arial and let's make it bold and 12. So again, the same. I could have highlighted these cells at the same time actually and made my life a little bit easier, but it doesn't matter, we're almost there. Arial, bold. Right, so is there anything else which we need to do? I think that's it. So format the file so the spreadsheet looks like this. So we've just done that. I'm happy. Let me zoom back in a little bit. Okay, save this as a spreadsheet with the file name M1831 followed by your center number and then your candidate number. Okay, so let's save this. So file, save as, and you need to make sure you save it as an Excel workbook because we are going to be using formulas. If you don't save it as an Excel workbook, the formulas will not save. So Excel workbook, what's the name? M1831 underscore. Okay, center number. So my center number was, if you go to the evidence document again, if you want to have a look, 5678. Underscore, then I think it was your candidate number. Let me double check. Center number and then your candidate number. Okay, so if I press save, we're still in the same folder. Okay, so it's still in the same folder, source files 2018. Make sure it's Excel workbook and then save. Right, the next thing we need to do for the evidence document, so evidence 2, is to take a screenshot showing cells from A1 to C26. So A1 is up here and C26 is down here. So what I need to do is, if I zoom out, just let me make this a bit bigger. Here we go. So zoom out a little bit more. So A1 to C26, which is this one here, and we need to show the row and column headings and then place this into evidence documents. So we need to show the row, the column and row headings. So let me just take a print screen, go to my evidence documents, evidence 2, let's paste, and then if we go to format, let's crop the part which we don't want to show. So okay, so we want to include the row and column headings, so the letters and the numbers. Once you've done that, you can increase the size of your print screen to show clearly. If we just zoom out a little bit, we can see the column headings, the row numbers. So from A1 all the way down to C26. Okay, I'm just going to take another print screen because I've just noticed some data does not fit within the columns. So I just want to be perfect. Okay, let's do that again. So press my print screen button, let's paste, let's crop. Let's make sure we include the row numbers and the column headings. Okay, so make sure the print screen is clear. You can see all of the information that they've requested in the question paper. Save. Okay. Next step, place your name, center number and candidate number on the right in the footer. Okay, so if we go back to Excel, if we go to Insert, Header and Footer, then if we click on Go to Footer, on the right, I need to include my name, center number and candidate number. So my name, center number is 5678, candidate number is 1234. Okay, and then place an automated file name including a file path in the center of the header. So let's go back to the header. In the center we want to include the file name, including the file path. So I can click on here, file name, comma, space, and then a file path. Okay. If I don't need to show file again, so it should be file and then path. If I click anywhere, and then if we go to view, we can go back to the normal view. So if I go to print preview, you can see the file name and file path has been central aligned at the top here, and then the name is shown here. Obviously when you do print, you will make sure you scale so all of the content fits appropriately. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to question 4. We're going to be restricting the data entry. So whenever you see this, you're probably going to be using validation, data validation. So data validation is where we can only allow certain data to be entered into a particular cell. So in cell B5, let me first of all find cell B5. So it's this cell here, B5. Restrict the data entry in cell B5 to only capital S or D or lowercase s or d. So only these values can be entered into this particular cell. So we're going to be doing data validation. So if you click on a cell, you click on data and then data validation. And what we want to do first, we want to allow a list of values, which will be a capital S or D. So to separate the values, you need to include a comma, D, and then a lowercase s, and then a lowercase d. So you need to include the commas to separate the values. Okay. For the evidence, you're going to have to take a screenshot to show how you restricted the data entry in cell B5 and place this into your evidence document. So before I press OK, I'm just going to take a print screen. And then if I press OK, you can see only these values appear in the list. If you do try typing another value, G for example, it's not going to be accepted. So let me go to my evidence document. So it's evidence 3. And let me paste in. Again, only include the data validation window. If you want to use the snipping tool, it's up to you. It's whatever you feel more comfortable using. Okay, so increase the size of the screenshot. So here we can see the source data is a capital S, comma, capital D, comma, and then lowercase s and d. So each of the values has been separated by a comma. Let me save the changes. Okay, that's that part done. So we can select data to check to see if it's working or not. So enter test data to help you create your model. So you can type in random data or select from the values to see if it's accepting the values you want. So like I said, if I type in F for example, you'll see this has not been accepted. Only the values in this drop down list will be accepted. Right, question 5. Again, we're going to restrict the data. So again, we're going to be using data validation. So restrict the data entry into cell B6. So let me find where B6 is. So B6 is this cell here, so B6. To accept only entries from the list of soil codes in a soil types table. So what we need to do in this example is we need to refer to this list here. So we've got capital B, C, G, S and T in this table here. So we need to refer to the list of soil codes. Okay, so again, if you click in the cell B6, click on data, data validation. Again, we're going to refer to a list. On this occasion, we can refer to the source code or to the source data. So if you click on this arrow here, and we can refer to this list here in the table here, and then click on the arrow. And again, we are going to be taking a print screen. So for evidence 4, take a screenshot showing how you restricted the data entry in cell B6. Place this into your evidence document. So if I go back here, I can take a print screen. Okay, so the range is basically from E4, which is here, going all the way down to E8. Wait, did I select all of them? Just let me double check what I selected. So yes, it is E8. So it's always good to double check what you've done. So print screen, and let me paste this in for evidence 4. Crop, again, the parts which you don't need, and you want to ensure the print screens are nice and clear. So in the first example, we typed in the values and separated them by commas, and in the second example we referred to a list which was already created. So let me save the changes. Okay, I've done the evidence document. We can press OK. So if you look at the drop down menu, you can see capital B, C, G, S and T. So it's basically referring to this list here that we selected. So again, if you try typing in anything else, so Z for example, it's not going to be accepted. However, only the values from the list will be accepted. So for example, if I changed this T to anything else, for example, V, you'll see the two V's now appear because it appears in the list here that we selected for the source data. Let me change that back to a T, so you don't really need to be changing any of the codes. Okay, so that's the data validation part complete for now. So now let's move on to question 6. Okay, so it says enter a formula in cell B12. So let me check B12 first. So B12 is down here. Okay, so B12, which depending on the soil type displays the depth of footings. Okay, so if we come back here, so the soil type is here, so dependent on what soil type we're going to have, and then if you look at the information here, so if the soil type was B, then you expect to display 0.5. If the soil type was C, okay, or the code was C, should I say, okay, then the footings will be 1. So if you go back to your question, it just says enter a formula in cell B12. So depending on the soil type, displays the depth of footing. So it's like, well, we are going to be using the VLOOKUP. So we basically have to look up what's in this cell here in order to get the outcome, which will be the 4th column here. So in B12, if I enter equal VLOOKUP, so the first thing we need to look up is going to be the code for the soil type. So if I do refer back to the question, you have to apply your common sense. So you need to find the lookup value, comma, and then you have to identify the table array. So you start with what you're looking up. So we're looking up the soil code, and then we're going across to the 4th column to get the depth of footings. So let me double check. Yeah. On this case, we don't need to lock the cell because I'm not going to be dragging down this formula. So we don't need to absolute cell reference the formula, comma. The column index is in which column are we looking for the output. So the first column is to what we're looking up. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The output will be the depth of footing, which is in the 4th column. So we can type in 4. And what we want to see is an exact match. So the current the current code is C, so it'll come down to C, and the exact match will be 1. So if you close the bracket and then if you press enter, you can see we have 1. If I change it to B, I'm expecting to see 0.5. Okay. Now, if you haven't typed anything into this cell B6, so if we delete the end contents of the cell, you may get a hashtag and then NA, not applicable. Do not panic if that happens to you. It's only because there's nothing entered into B6. There's nothing to look up. So if I select T, for example, the exact match in the 4th column would be 0.8, and as we can see, we've got the exact match 0.8. So if you have no cell code entered, obviously you will receive a hashtag because there's nothing to look up in this table array. So let's just enter B for now. Right, for question 7, enter a formula into cell B13. Okay, so B13 is this cell here. What do we need to find out? Which is dependent on the cell type. Again, it needs to depend on the contents of this cell here, which is B6. Display the width of footings, which is going to be the third column in this table array here. So we're going to be again looking up the cell code in this table and looking up the third column, and it's going to be an exact match. So if the cell code is B, then the output in the third column should match, should give us a 0.6. So again, equal VLOOKUP. What is the lookup value? So again, refer to your questions. So depending on a cell type, so the lookup value will be B6 again. So that contains the code for each soil, comma. The table array is basically going to be from what we're looking up, going all the way across to the third column, because we want to find out, if you go back to your question, yeah, this basically, okay, which is in the third column. I don't need to lock it in because I'm not dragging it down, so no need for absolute cell referencing, comma, third column, and again we want the exact match. So basically, if we see B, the exact match will be 0.6. Okay, like I said, if you delete the contents of this cell, you will see hashtags. Do not panic. Make sure you've selected a lookup value. So T, okay, should give me 0.8 for the first for B12, and for B13, because we're looking in the third column now, 0.6. So it looks up the value in this table array. It goes across. This was the fourth column, as you can see. Okay, and then this was the third column in the table, which is 0.6. So they're trying to make it more difficult for you to identify what formula function you should be using. Okay, so they're not making it obvious. Sometimes in previous exam papers it may say use a VLOOKUP, use a lookup. So the clue is you got the lookup value, which is the cell type. Okay, and on the Excel sheet you have something that looks like a table array. Okay, so you need to identify these things. Also, this might be used as a table array later on, so you need to be able to look at the contents and to be able to identify what might be used as part of different functions. Right, so that's that part done. So let's now move on to question 8. Let me just save the changes before we move forward. Okay, so we have to enter a formula into cell B14. So let me find out where B14 is. If we click here, so it's this cell here, B14. And what do we need to work out? So which calculates the length of the footings. So this is basically the length of the wall. So what cell is the length of the wall? It's going to be this cell here, so B7. Now I'm going to type in some test data because it does mention we can enter test data to help you create your model. So just to make my life easier, I'm just going to enter 10 for now. So that's the first cell which we need to use. If you go down, plus the width of the footings, so how wide the footings are, so it's going to be plus B13, and then minus 10 centimeters. Okay, so 10 centimeters, if you go up to your question paper, so 10 centimeters is basically 10% of a meter, so we're going to display that as a decimal, so it's going to be minus 0.1. So let's go ahead and do this question. And so if I click on equal the length of the wall plus, let me double check again, yeah, the width of the footings, which was basically the contents of this cell here. So 0.6, because it was T, is this cell here, 0.6, and then minus is 0.1, which is 10% basically. Enter, and it's given us 10.5. Okay, so that's that part done. Okay, so let's look at number 9 now. So enter formula in cell B15. So let me go back and check where's B15. So is this cell here? To calculate the volume of concrete needed for these footings. So this is basically going to be the depth of the footings, which is how deep. So it's going to be this value multiplied by how wide the footings are. So it's going to be multiplied by this value, and then the length of the footings, which will be multiplied by this value here. So in this cell here, we have to basically multiply these values together. So this, how deep it is, how wide it is, and how long it is. So we're just basically multiplying these values together. Okay, so which is giving us 5.04 cubic meters. So that's completed. Right, the next part is in question 10, enter a formula in cell B16. So let me see where B16 is now. So B16 is this cell here. What do we need to do? To calculate the cost of the concrete for these footings. So it's basically going to be the price is 120 per cubic meter. So we've got cubic meters here. The concrete for the footings will cost is basically going to be this cell here multiplied by the price per cubic meter, so multiplied by 120 pounds. Okay, so the concrete for the footing will cost £604 and 8 pence. Because the question paper has asked us to show any values, any currency values in pounds sterling, this is why I've highlighted this at the start of the question paper. To do decimal places, you need to make sure you apply that formatting. Okay, so we can select English United Kingdom, and then we can increase the column size to show the 2 decimal places. Okay, so make sure you are applying all necessary formatting, which includes currency. Right, so question 11. So enter formula in cell B19. So where's B19? B19 is here. So let's go down. So type of brick chosen. To look up the brick name, so automatically we know it's going to be a lookup. So in examples before, it didn't mention we had to use a lookup. It just basically said based on the lookup value. So it says depending. Okay, and then if you go on the question above, depending. But on this question here, we basically know we're going to be using a lookup function because it tells us. So we're going to look up the brick name using the data from the file m1831bricks.csv. So before we can start this activity, you need to make sure this file is open already. Okay, so as we discussed earlier, it did look like this was going to be used as some sort of table array in a lookup. Because the values are vertical, it's going to be a VLOOKUP. But what is it? What can we use as a lookup to find the brick name? So the brick name is here. We're going to have to use some sort of code. So if I come back to my Excel, brick code for choice of bricks. So we're going to have to use a value in here in order to find out the type of brick chosen in B19. So I'm just going to type in a code from the table array. So let's type in H, which will give us honey buff. So let's start by typing in the test value. So H. So if I do my lookup equals VLOOKUP. So the lookup value will be the brick code for the choice of bricks, which is B9, comma, the table array will be from this sheet here, so make sure it's open. So you highlight what you're looking up, you go right. So I can stop here on the second column because I only need to find out the brick name, okay, as you can see in the question paper. Automatically, because there's an external sheet, it's been absolute cell reference, so that's fine. Comma, and the brick name appears in the second column, so we can type in 2, and we want an exact match. So I typed in H as an example, so that should give me an exact match of honey buff, which is in the second column. So you can close the bracket and we can press enter. And we've got the exact match here as well. So if you changed it to, for example, F, in the second column the exact match should be sand faced. So you can type in values to check to see if the formula has worked. So F, sand face. Like I said before, if there's nothing to look up, you'll get NA, hashtag NA. Don't panic, it's just because you haven't typed anything into the brick code. So I've typed in B. Okay, B has given me brindle. Right, that's fine. So let's move on to the next question. Okay, so for question 12, enter formula into cell B20. So let me find out where B20 is. Okay, this cell here. So basically, what do we need to do to display yes if the walls need piers and no if it does not need piers? So yes if the wall needs piers and no if it does not need piers. So it's basically, looks like it's going to be an if statement. So what are the conditions? So the conditions are here. So if a wall is single skin, only one brick thick, which will be basically, if we come back here, so single or double skin, so S represents single and D represents double skin, so that's the first condition, and longer than 1.2 meters, that looks like another condition, so the length is longer than 1.2 and higher than 1.7, higher than 0.725 meters. So the height is here. So it looks like we've got 3 conditions, and if each of these conditions are met, so and this condition's met, and this condition's met, and this condition's met, as you can see the key word here is and, okay, then we will display yes. So this is probably for the first time I'm seeing an if statement which includes multiple conditions. So it's not a nested if, it's basically it's going to be one true or one false. So yes if it's true, and if it's not false then it's going to be no. Just before I continue on with this question, I want to show you this example here. So we've got pass or fail. So the condition is to achieve a pass, both grades have to be more than 50. So both marks basically have to be more than 50. If I reduce this score here to 49, you will see Abdullah has now failed his English papers. Okay, so he passed the first one, but he's failed the second paper. So if you look at the formula, if you type in and, we can have multiple conditions, so logical 1 and logical 2. What I'm going to do, I'm going to redo this completely again. So we're going to be checking the formulas in cell, or the values in B6 and values in B7. So if I type in equal if, and then type in and, okay, then we've got the option to check for multiple conditions. So if this score here is more than 50, so B6 is more than 50, comma, so now we're checking for another condition, and in C6, so this score here is also more than 50. To return back to the normal if statement, you have to close the bracket, and as you can see, we return back. So if I type in comma, and if both scores in B6 and C6 are greater than 50, then we're going to say in speech marks they've passed. Obviously, if the conditions are not met, so if one condition is not true, then they have failed instead. Then we can close the bracket. So Abdullah has failed because the second paper he scored less than 50. If I change that to 51, now both papers are greater than 50 and he has passed. In this example here, we've got 3 different exam papers. If I change the first mark to above 50, as you can see the second 2 are above 50. This should change from fail to a pass. So if I type in 52 or 53, So now it's changed to a pass. We're basically checking the condition in H6, I6 and J6. So if we double click, so H6 is greater than 50, I6 is greater than 50, J6 is greater than, this time I said, I don't know why I put 55, we change it to 50, then it's going to be pass or fail. Okay, so to achieve a pass, all grades need to be greater than 50. Right, last thing as well, just before we answer this question, you'll notice we've got some lowercase s and lowercase d. So basically we need to, if you have selected a lowercase, we need to convert the value of this cell into an uppercase value. So again, this is something new. So let's say, for example, if I wanted to convert the value of this cell or the contents of this cell all to uppercase letters, if I type in equal upper, converts the text string to all uppercase letters. So that's just in case if you selected lowercase s. For text, if you select the cell that you want to convert and then close the bracket, you'll notice all of it's been converted into uppercase. So here, if you have selected the lowercase, we want to convert it into an uppercase, a capital letter. So let's start. So we're going to type in equal if. So in B20, okay, we're going to use an ifs. Because we have multiple conditions, I'm going to type in and. The first thing we need to check for is if a wall is single skin, and because if you have typed in lowercase or selected a lowercase s, we want to show the uppercase. So if you type in upper, the text is going to be from this cell here. So anything that's in this cell will be converted to upper, and if it's equal to s, that's the first condition, comma. The second condition will be longer than 1.2 meters, so the length of the wall is greater than 1.2, comma, and the third logical test will be the height of the wall is greater than 0.725 meters. So the height, which is this one here, as you can see, height is greater than 0.725. Let me double check. Okay, so enter formula cell B20 to display yes if the wall needs piers and no if it does not. So if it's single skin, so it's S, longer than 1.2 meters and higher than 0.725 meters, then it needs supporting with piers. So if each of these conditions are met, then we need to say yes, the wall needs piers. Okay, so if I close the bracket to return back to the if statement, so if these conditions are met, then we can say yes for the true value. Okay, if one condition is not met, then we can say no, and then we can close the bracket and press enter. So I'm expecting to see no because we don't have the height. Okay, so if I type in for the wall 1, for example, that is now greater than 0.725. So now all of the conditions are met. So it doesn't matter if we select lowercase s or uppercase s, it's going to be converted to uppercase anyway. Okay, the second part is B7 is greater than 1.2. Okay, so I've got 10, which is obviously greater than 1.2, and the contents of B8, the height is greater than 0.725. I've got 1, which is again true, so all the conditions are met, so therefore the true statement is shown in the formula. Okay, so that's that part done. I can press save. So that was quite a tricky question, guys. Okay, question 13. So enter a formula into cell B21. So let me highlight that cell. So B21 here. So number of piers to be built. Okay, to calculate the number of piers needed for the wall. So we basically need to work out the number of piers which we need. So first of all, we need to know, do we require piers? So obviously it says yes. So let me read the the first part. So if pairs are needed, so obviously if this says no, then we don't need any pairs, but this says yes in this case. So if pairs are needed, they should be placed at each end of the wall, okay, and every 1.2 meters along the wall. So this is quite difficult to explain. Let me just show you an example here. Let me just come down. So imagine this is my wall here, okay, so, and I'll just put the borders in, okay, and each cell basically represents 1.2 meters along the wall, okay, so this is 1.2 meters and then this is 1.2 meters. Basically, if pairs are needed, so if this is here is equal to yes, so it's going to be an if statement, we basically need to work out how many pairs we're going to need. So they should be placed at each end of the wall. So basically the pair on the left side, so we're going to have one pair here, so one pair, I'm just going to put one there, okay, and then one here. So we need to have a pair at the end of each wall. So let me just put that to one side. So we've got one pair at the end of each wall, and we also have a pair every 1.2 meters along the wall. So we're going to have one here, okay, and then one here as well. So if this was my wall, okay, you'd have basically a pair at the start and at the end of the wall. So basically they should be placed at each end of the wall. So you got 1, 2, and then you got two more pairs 1.5 or 1.25 meters into the wall. So if this was the example, you'd have 4 pairs, okay. You can't have half a pair, so it needs to be a complete number. So in cell B21, number of pairs to be built, so you can't say 1.5, it has to be a complete number, so we're going to have to format it into an integer value. So let me just see, first of all, we need to refer to the length of the wall. So obviously here the length of the wall is 10. So what you'd have to do, I'm just going to do a calculation here on the side. So you'd have to basically divide this by 1.2, okay, so which gives you 8.333. Obviously we can't have half a pair or quarter or third of a pair, so this value here would have to be formatted into an integer value, okay, so that's the 8 in between, but obviously you'd have to add 2 because you got a pair at the end of the walls, okay, so it basically would be 2 plus whatever you get in this formula here, which gives us 10. Right, so let me get rid of this. I hope that does make sense. Okay, so we're going to have a pair at the start and at the end point of the wall, and every 1.25 meters, I think. Oh, sorry, every 1.2 meters along the wall. What did I do here? Yeah, 1.2. So let me delete that. So again, you know, it's quite a difficult question. You just need to be making sure you're reading the question carefully. So first of all, we want to check to see okay, if pairs are needed. So obviously we've got to check the contents of B20 if it's equal to yes. Let me just put the speech marks in. That's our logical test. And if that's true, then basically what we're going to say is it's going to be 2, because that's the 2 pairs at the start and end of the wall, plus, and because we want to divide the length of the wall, whoops, by 1.2, and because we don't want to see a decimal number, we want to see a complete number, I'm going to type in int. Okay, so whatever the contents of the brackets will be converted into an integer value. So if it says yes, then we're going to add 2 pairs plus the contents of this cell here, so the length divided by 1.2. If the value is false, so this says no, for example, then we're going to say no pairs are required. So we're going to leave 0. You don't need to put it into speech marks because we want to show the numerical value. Anytime you put something to speech marks, it converts it into a text string. So we can close the bracket and we can press enter. And we've got the same answer as before. So it is quite a difficult question to get your head around. You just have to make sure you're reading the questions carefully. Okay, so next question. So question 14, enter formula in cell B22. So let me check where B22 is now. Yep, number of bricks per course. So a course is a single layer of bricks. A wall is built with many courses. Okay, so to calculate the number of bricks per course, okay, this is basically going to be the length of the wall. So the length of the wall is going to be, I think it's B7. Yeah, B7 divided by 0.225. Okay. So it's going to be equal the length divided by 0.225. Let me double check. So it's the length of the wall divided by 0.225. Enter. Okay, it's given us 44.444. Okay. If you go to the start of the question paper, you'll notice I highlighted any part bricks must be rounded up to the nearest whole number. So we need to round up this figure. So we can't have less bricks. We need to have, maybe it's best to have more bricks than what we need. So we have to round up this figure. So where am I going? Here we are. So to round up, what we need to do is after the equals, you can say round up, and then number of digits, we want to display it as a whole number, so we can select 0, and then I've got 45. So it's based on the numbers I've entered. Obviously, if you haven't entered in the length of the wall, you will get, or if you type in different numbers, you'll get a different answer. So it did say, where's it gone? There we go. For steps 4 to 18, enter test data to help you create your model. So you should be adding data as you're going along. So now we're on 15. So enter a formula into cell B23. So B23, number of courses. Okay. To calculate the number of courses, it's basically going to be the height of the wall. Okay. So what's the height of the wall? Height is going to be B8. Divided by 0.066. So again, you need to have some sort of numbers in here to be able to use the formula. So equal the height of the wall divided by 0.0, I think 66. Let me double check again. Yeah, 0.066. And again, if I press enter, this figure will have to be rounded up again. So again, after the equal sign, round up. Okay, and then 0, and then close the bracket. So if you are building, it's probably best to have more than what you actually need. So that's why we're rounding up. You don't want to have less materials because you rounded it down. So you want to round it up. Okay, so that's that done. And we just save the changes before we move on to question 15. Oh, we've done question 15. We're now on question 16. Okay guys, for the next video, what I did actually, I paused the video and I've annotated a question paper to hopefully help it make it easier for you to understand the next question. Next question is a difficult one, so let's look at the question paper. So question 16. So we're going to be using these statements here that you can see below. You can see I've color coded the statements. So green will represent the true statements, the red will represent the false statements, and this will be done outside of the if statement. So using these statements, enter a formula into cell B24. So let's have a look at B24 first of all. It's this cell here. So you will need to buy number of bricks. Okay, so basically is going to calculate the number of bricks you will need to buy. So it's going to be an if statement because we have all these statements that we need to check for. So you'll notice I've basically annotated also the cell references which will be used at particular points. So the number of bricks per course is B22. Number of bricks per course is B22. I'm just going to highlight this because we're going to be using that. So the number of courses will be B23. So I'll just highlight this. You don't need to highlight. I'm just doing it so I need to know. I need to use these cells. Okay. Number of courses and number of peers. Okay. So and number of courses has already been checked. And the last thing we got to check is going to be the number of bricks for single skin wall, or if it's a double skin wall. So we need to know if it's single or double. So I've highlighted these cells because I'm going to be using them at some point. So let's look at the first statement. The number of bricks for single skin wall. So basically, if the contents of B5, so even if you select the lowercase s, we will have to convert the contents into capital letters. So if the contents of B5 is equal to S, then basically the first thing we need to do is the number of bricks per course, which is B22, multiplied by the number of courses. So if this is a logical test, if the contents of B5 is equal to S, the wall type is single, then we're first going to multiply the number of bricks per course multiplied by the number of courses. So that's why it makes it useful to identify the cell references. So it's going to be B22 multiplied by B23 plus, we're still focused on if it is a single wall. If pairs are used, so if you go up the question paper, if a wall is single skin, no, where are we looking now? Yeah, so yeah, it's actually here. If a wall is single skin, only one brick thick, okay, it will be supported with piers. So piers can only be applied to walls which are single thickness. Okay, so the second part is then we have to do plus. It's going to be if piers are used, extra bricks are needed. This is calculated by adding a number of courses. Again, it's going to be B23 multiplied by B21. So if the wall type is single, then we basically need to do two calculations which are added together. So it's going to be number of bricks per course multiplied by number of courses. So we multiply them two. Plus, if it is single skin wall, then pairs will be used. So it's basically going to be adding a number of courses. So B23 multiplied by B21. Okay, if the logical test is not true, so logical test, this wall type is not single, then the false will be, we're going to be focusing on a double. So twice as many bricks are needed for a double skin wall. So it's basically going to be a number of bricks per course multiplied by the number of courses. So B22 multiplied by B23, because we need twice as many, we need to then multiply the contents of this by 2. Okay. Obviously we don't have pairs if it's double brick, so pairs only applies to the single brick. Once you've completed the if statement for both double skin and single skin, so this applies to both, if it's true or false, add an extra 10%. Okay, so in case bricks are damaged, they want to order an extra 10%. So we're going to multiply by 1.1. So if you want the correct number of bricks, it would be 100%. Obviously, we want 10% on top of the 100%. So we want 110%. Okay, so 110% as a decimal would be 1.1. Then eventually we're going to round it up. So let me do it now. Let's see if it makes sense if I actually go ahead and do this question. So in B24, if I type in equal if, first of all, we wanted to check to see if the contents of B5, if it's lowercase or uppercase, so this here is equal to S. So we're checking to see if the wall type is single, and if that's true, so now we're in a true statement. Okay, so let's come down here. If it's true, so the number of bricks for single skin wall is the number of bricks per course, B22, number of bricks per course multiplied by the number of courses, which is B23, plus, because it's single wall, we're going to include piers, plus adding a number of courses. So we're adding a number of courses, so that's why I got the plus. Number of courses, so B23 again, multiplied by the number of piers. So what we've done so far is a logical test. We're checking to see if the wall type is equal to S. Okay, if it's true, we did the first calculation, number of bricks per course multiplied by number of courses, plus obviously the single wall is going to include piers, so add a number of courses, which is B23 multiplied by the number of piers. Obviously, if it's not a single wall, it's going to be a double wall, so that's going to be the false value. So if I press comma, and what we're going to do is basically it's going to be B22 multiplied by B23 repeated. Okay, so B22 multiplied by B23, number of bricks per course multiplied by number of courses. Because it's double, we're going to have the double amount of bricks, so then we have to multiply by 2. So if I go back to my Excel, I'm going to copy this. For the false, as you can see, obviously because we've got double the bricks by 2. Okay, and then we can close the bracket. Enter. So before press enter, you can see the cells which we highlight in yellow have been used. Okay, so we can press enter. So we've got 880 bricks. Right, so for both double skin and single skin, an extra 10% always needs to be added. So then what we need to do is click here, and if it was true or false, we need to add an extra 10% to what we already have, so multiply by 1.1. Okay, we've got 968 bricks. Okay, so right, and the final thing is if you had different numbers to me, so let's say your numbers were slightly different, so number of, let me just change the height, for example. If I change the height to 1.3, okay, and the length of the wall is going to be 8.7. You may get I'm just seeing, you may get decimal numbers. So what you may also have to do, mine I don't know is shown as an integer value, but what you may have to do as well is round it up, because obviously you want more materials. So the last thing is round up. Okay, so you can do the round up at the beginning. So if you after the equals type in round up, okay, and then at the end comma 0, okay, for no decimal values. Okay, so it's giving me the same. I think later on we may have to change some of the values which may result in decimal numbers. Okay, so that was probably one of the most trickiest questions I've seen in paper 3. So hopefully if you can learn to annotate the question, write down the cell references, write down the formula beforehand, maybe it might make your life much more easier. Right, so let's move on to question 17. Frankly, we've nearly come to the end, so this has been a killer paper. So question 17. Okay, so we have to enter formula in cell B25. So where's B25? Let's have a look. This one here. I'm just going to, before I move forward, let's just get the colours out. So that was just for the previous question, so no fill. So it's a technique I like to use just to make sure, you know, we used all the cells that we were meant to. So now let's go to B25. Enter formula in cell B25 to calculate the number of packs of bricks that must be brought. Okay, so you can only buy bricks in full packs of 390. So this is basically how many bricks we need, and it's going to be a simple formula. If we divide the total number of bricks by 390, so in one pack you get 390, okay, and it gives me this answer here. So obviously you can only buy bricks in full packs of 390, so for this answer here we need to round it up. Round up and to no decimal places. So in this example we need 3 packs of bricks. Okay, so it's always good to have extra. Right, so question 18, enter a formula in cell B26. So B26 is a cell here, cost of the bricks. To calculate the cost for the biome bricks using the data from the file m1831bricks.csv. So again, we're going to be using this table here in this file m1831bricks. We're going to be basically, it doesn't say we have to look up, but obviously because we have to use the contents of this Excel file, it's obvious there's going to be a lookup. So calculate the cost of buying the bricks using the data from the files. So basically, if you look at here, what can we use to look up the cost? So there's 2 things we can use to look up the cost now. So we've got the brick name or the brick code. So I'm going to use the brick code again. So if I type in =v lookup, we want to look up the brick code, comma, okay, table array. So you highlight the brick code and you want to go right until you get to the last column. So it's the 3rd, 4th, 5th, the 6th column. So again, you'll notice because it's an external sheet, it's absolute cell reference automatically. Comma, we want to look at the 6th column to get the price, comma, and you want to get the exact match. So if you press enter, so we've got the cost of the bricks. We've got 495.6. Let's format this into currency again. Okay, so we changed it to currency. So for Brindle, let me just double check. Where's Brindle? Here. So we got this price here. So that was the exact match. Right, the next thing we need to do is basically multiply by the number of packs we're getting. So then we can just work out the final cost. So multiplied by the number of packs and then enter. And then that's the final price displayed as a currency. So calculate the cost of buying the bricks using the data. So basically what we have to do, we have to find the cost of 1 pack and then multiply it against how many packs we're getting. Apply appropriate formatting to all cells. So that basically means the currency has been applied to where we need to apply it. So to the cost, the concrete for the footing will cost, and the cost here, we've got the same currency that's been applied. Right, save the files. So let me click on my disk at the top corner. So we saved, and print only cells A1 to C26 of the spreadsheet showing a formula. So first of all, let's go to formulas and show formulas. Let's adjust the column sizes. It's no point in printing your formulas off like this. You can't see the full formulas, and then whatever you can't see can't be marked. So I'm just going to zoom out. Okay, as you can see, I can see the end of the formula here. Right, so what is it that we're printing? So we're printing basically from cells A1 to C26. So A1 is here and C26 is here. So if I zoom in a little bit, you can see it's gone to C26. And how are we printing this? So we're going to print a landscape. Row and columns are displayed. Normally when you do print formulas, you do display the row and column heading. So if you go to File, Print, let's change the page to landscape. Let's see if it fits to one page. Basically we want to print just a selection. So that's fine. So basically, yep, that's what we want to show. We can see everything. And if I go to custom scaling options, go to sheet, we can also include a row and column headings. So we've got the letters for the columns and the row numbers going down as well. So we're showing basically A1 to C26, so you can see A1 and C26, and I'm just checking to see if all of the content is visible. Yep, I'm happy with that. And then you would basically send this to the printer. So print, when you do receive the printout, make sure you check for mistakes. Also make sure your name appears on the printout before you send it to the printer. So the contents of these cells are fully visible. That's what I was checking for. You'd be surprised, guys, if I just show you as an example how many people send the work to the printer like this. And obviously, let me just highlight the cells again, and you can see the formulas are cut off, but it's very common for students not to check. So I'm hoping you are checking when you're printing, and if you have printed and do realize you've made a mistake, then just go ahead and print it again. So make sure you've entered your name, center number and candidate number, so that should be in the footer. Okay, so we've done that now. Now we just need to enter these values. So if I take the formulas off, again, let's just adjust the column sizes so we can see all of the information. There we go. So the sole code is going to be B. Yeah, I just don't know where I was looking then. For example, I need to zoom in, I think, to see what I'm doing. So, okay, here we go. So the sole code is going to be B. Okay, so we've done that. The brick code will be R. So we'll change that to R. Okay. A length of 400 centimeters. So 400 centimeters should be 4 meters. Okay, so it's going to be a length of the wall will be 4. So we have to enter in meters. Okay, and a height of 60 centimeters. So we can do 0.6. So print only cells A1 to C26 of the spreadsheet showing the values. Okay, so again we need to select A1 going all the way down to C26. The printout fits on a single page and the contents of all cells are fully visible. Okay, so if I go to File and Print, so we don't need to show the row and column headings, so you can take this off. Custom scaling options, sheet. This is only normally shown when you're printing formulas, the row and column headings. Printout fits single page wide, so it doesn't save as portrait landscape, so we can leave it as landscape. The contents of all the cells are fully visible. Let me double check. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And then you can send this to the printer as well. Okay, so now we've come to the end of the spreadsheet exam. So this was probably one of the most challenging spreadsheet exams I've ever seen. Make sure you are following the techniques shown in the video, especially on this question here, where it's good to annotate the question, annotate the true and the false statements, write down the cell references that will be used, and if it helps, write down the formula in advance. So starting with the logical test, then the true, and then the false as well. Okay, so thank you for your time. We've come to the end of the March 2018 spreadsheet section. Please share this video, like this video, and please show your support to the channel and subscribe below. Thank you again for your time.